Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Mike for episode 93 on Monday, the 22nd of August, 2022. In this show, we'll be discussing Dead Island 2. It's alive! Woo! Embrace a group who goes on another shopping spree, just like my girlfriend, including Lord of the Rings and our limited run games. I find out if another budget game was worth wasting my coffee money on, and Swinny's 16-month wait for a game update is finally over.
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gamespresso audio!
All right. Are we back on, boys? I really hate the fact that I can never hear the intro song anymore. We got some weird technical difficulties. Did you shave, or is that a fake face? I can't hear you.
It's a filter.
You're on mute.
It's a filter.
Wow, that is an incredibly good filter. You kind of look like, what's his name, Brad Pitt from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
What a compliment. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
People don't know who I am, though.
Well, you're integot.
Well, you have an intro.
I thought people know by now. All right. Apologies, people. This is integot, aka Brad Pitt.
AKA, what am I on the show?
You are integot on the show. That's who you are. You are the great editor-in-chief.
No!
No, he's the producer. He's the producer man.
Executive
oh my God.
producer.
Okay, he's executive producer. Apologies, everyone. I am sick. And I don't just mean in the brain like I usually am. I mean quite physically sick. Reason being that I went down on Swinny, the other guy who's on the podcast. And now I am sick with something. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's something. So welcome. Yes.
I like the fact that I've got a template for a run sheet, and the fact that it doesn't have our new role intro part. That you were just lost. You were completely
I was
lost.
completely lost.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
if
the
it's not written
editor-in-chief. Woo! Hello, wonderful people of the internet.
Hello.
It's good to have you all back. It's good to see you all again. Apologies we couldn't do it on Sunday, unfortunately, mostly because I was sick, recovering a little bit. I don't even know how I got it. I was in the same area as you, Swinny.
What did you get?
About a week ago, so I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe your entire area is diseased. I don't know. A weird part of the world.
While I was sick last week, I didn't have what you have.
Oh,
so.
Okay,
which is
fair
what?
enough. Which is what? Exactly. Let me just
He was asking you.
Anyways, let's just move on with the show. So, as usual, you can find all our links in the description below. And I believe we got a little bit of hype, Swinny?
Yes, I've decided it's time.
It's time!
It's finally time.
What is it time for?
To update the Kimco tier list.
Yes.
Now,
A brand new one. Let's go, baby! Woo!
now that there are 5 more games to add into the list, so it might be a midweek thing, it might be a slow news week thing. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So
Okay, so you're going to go through
Get
the
ready
whole
for it.
list again, or are you just going to go and I'm slotting
course.
this one here?
I'm going to get you to do it, Mike, the entire
Okay.
lot. All
Sure.
37.
Play all of them.
All 42.
really-
You're going to play all 42 games, I think it is, in the next week.
Oh, for Jesus Christ. You want the Chemco community to gang up and beat me up, don't you? It's the last thing I need. Ugh.
What's it, about 40 hours, Swinny?
What do you mean 40 hours?
Per game.
For what?
Per
Oh,
game.
Ballpark.
some games are like 25, some
Average.
games are 40.
Okay.
Like the
Wow.
game that I just beat recently was only probably about 25. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
That's fine. That's about 1,000 to 1,600 hours.
Within 1 week, Mike,
Wow.
while you're sick.
Sounds like a good use of my time. Good use of my time.
And money, you got to pay for it
Well,
all.
I am sick, so
They get it on mobile.
I'll just use
keep
your
it.
account. It's fine. And I believe there was a what?
Mike, the host, is awesome. I love it. Go on.
What?
I like your background this week, though.
Well, thanks.
No, it's like I love that you go to take the sip right in the
In the middle of-
blank spot.
So,
it's like
He's a real like Eddie Maguire, just smooth. This is just a
but,
consummate.
there's a correction to make.
but he's sick, so he's got an excuse.
Yeah. Sick in
yeah,
the
and
And he's
membrane.
unwell as well.
Very small correction. I mentioned last week in our Evo news hype segment that I hadn't played Street Fighter V because I didn't have a PS5. So that was game was not launched on the PS5, so I just want to clarify that.
Also, you did have a PS5.
But you do have a PS5.
Yeah.
Exactly, I do have a
PS4.
Two
PS5.
corrections you got to make.
So it was more like when that game came out or when that game was a thing, I didn't have access to it. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's okay. Honestly, I think even if you didn't make that correction, the world would still be okay, and they will forgive you.
No.
But
The
I'm
world
glad you got it
would
off your chest
stop.
just in
The world
case.
would stop. All transit lines, all shipping cargo containers, it all stop in their tracks because I didn't make that right. So
Fair enough. And
I love the
who
dead
wants
air.
to do the big shout out to a lovely community member, other than the two lovely community members that we have, which is Bizarre and Hooded Dude. Not the Joe Jives guy. He can go fuck himself. But we do have a really nice comment that someone left us. Integot?
Who was the comment from, Mike?
I don't remember the name of the user. Because it's not written in the run sheet. How the hell do you expect me to know stuff like that?
we don't have to say. We just want to say that somebody called us last week. I think it was on last week's episode where I was completely sick and just had no energy and not entertaining at all. That we are insanely charismatic. So
I have a feeling he was
On
being
that-
insanely sarcastic.
It seemed like a genuine compliment, but I'm fairly certain it was aimed at the two dudes just playing around with their Snapchat filters.
Maybe.
No,
or
I
it's
think
the
it-
fact that I use a Harry Potter lipstick.
I think it's the the rapport that we've built over the course of 25 years of knowing each other.
It could be that.
Is that what you're doing? I was wondering how you were doing the lipstick thing.
What lipstick thing? It's just a lid from
Yeah,
one of my
yeah,
pens.
that's what I didn't realize. That's what I
Yeah.
didn't realize.
I don't have real lipstick.
No, I
on.
don't think it's a fake
I don't do that
comment.
live on a show. All in my personal time. Jesus Christ, who do you take me for?
Because it's Franco Tirador. They've
Thanks,
commented
Franco.
before as well. So
Thank you. No, we don't have any particular questions this week, but
well, I didn't have a question because I know Swinny's got a note. So
yes, he does. He wants to talk about his first time. I want to hear about his first. I actually thought you were a virgin, so tell us.
You meant to, like, it's obviously
It's not funny.
insinuating about that joke,
I
but then you
know.
just go out and actually just
Squash.
say that. So I want to actually just bring up, it's not video game related, but quickly mention that first time this week of trying
Taco Bell.
Taco
There's a Taco Bell here. Wow, how is it?
So we're in Australia.
fine.
We don't have all the American
Yeah, we don't
food.
have those kind of things. They
They-
have more stuff in New Zealand than we have.
So
here.
there's actually already like 5 Taco Bells in Victoria now. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to try this food that I've heard about
Wow, you
for
struggled
so long.
to call it food.
For so long, like one of my favorite people in gaming media, Dan Reichert, got married in a Taco Bell. Like it's
What?
such an institution, like in American fast food. And we over here, we had Taco Bill, which is very different. Still, kind of like
so awesome how off-brand that is, right?
still like a take on Mexican food. Now I'm saying, I know Taco Bell is very far removed from traditional Mexican food, so don't get me wrong. But I still really wanted to try it, and
What do you think?
I gotta say, the rumors, the jokes, they're pretty accurate about
Wait,
what happens
good or
to you.
bad jokes? I
About
don't-
what happens to you after
Oh,
you Taco
really?
Bell. Yeah,
Okay.
let's just say that night I was having some issues, but look.
Okay.
I gotta say, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Like not so much cheap and nasty. It was kind of like for like just
Would
a
be cheap.
nasty takeaway. It was all right, but
Okay.
I can see why people look at that. And again, this is the Australian version. Who knows how it compares to whatever the hell Taco Bell is in America? But yeah, I just wanted to call out the fact that I finally got to try it after so many years of it not being in Australia.
It's so funny you noticed that because I noticed also Taco Bell in Sydney recently. I'm like, wait a second. Has Taco Bell always been in Australia? I was like driving past. I'm like, what the F? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I also was like you. I'm like, should I try this? Because it just feels like a funny novelty. Like that's like as an Australian, you go to America and you just try all the fast food. It's like, what the hell? Like it is so crazy.
Well, they recently brought, and it's actually it's just down the like it's within like I don't know a kilometer of each other. They opened a Carl's Jr. here in
Yes.
nearby
yeah.
as well. So yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll start getting.
Well,
actually,
I had tried,
and,
and it's
there's
alright.
also a Five Guys,
Guys.
opening up in
they
South
actually
Bank
are
in
good.
Melbourne.
They are actually
So-
good. So Five Guys are
getting
legit.
one of
Swinny
them.
likes Five Guys.
Yeah, you should try Five Guys.
Misa was just saying that they don't have a Taco Bell in Mexico.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
They
I'm
have
not
authentic
surprised.
Mexican food in Mexico,
I am
which is
not
way
surprised.
better. I'd rather have that. Screw
Nice,
Taco
nice,
Bell.
nice.
Oh, awesome. There you go. I need to try some of this. Although I don't know if people know or give a shit that I don't really eat meat. So,
Well, whenever you do, just prepare
have
yourself for a bit of
beans.
a night. That's all I'm saying.
okay. My
What an,
buttocks will be
what an
prepared.
advertisement. let's
Yeah.
let's throw to our sponsor, Taco Bell.
Wow. All right. So how about we just move on and talk about what we've been playing. Integot, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, well, I had the week off. I'm back at work now, so I'm off my holiday mode, as you can see. So this week, a couple of things. I actually forgot when I was filling in the run sheet. I only told Swinny before that I actually forgot one of the big games that I was playing this week. First one is PONG. But I'll talk about that a little bit later because there's a new Analogue Pocket core that is the core for the arcade PONG game. So I played a bit of that. The other game that I was playing is Resident Evil 4 VR on Oculus. So my wife's dad gets so sick from the Oculus, he can't use it anymore.
Did he give it to you finally?
I lent it to me. He's like, take it as long as you
lent
want,
it to you.
effectively.
It's like, I can't use this device. It makes me sick.
Dude,
But you can only borrow it. You
Like, I
can't
gotta
have it.
say, like, I know that, like, I've visited, Facebook's headquarters recently, but, like, man, it is so frustrating, their systems. So I get the Oculus. I'm like, cool. All right, I'm going to go on and buy Resident Evil 4, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll just go in and add my payment details, buy it, delete my payment details, all good. Going through all the settings in the Oculus, I'm like, what the hell? I can't do this. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, I spent half an hour trying to figure it out. There's no way to add payment details on the Oculus Quest. You can't do it. It's impossible. There's no way to do it, right? I'm like, that is insane that it's like that. You have to do it through the app or through Facebook, right?
That is weird.
So I'm like super pissed off about that. I'm like, okay, cool. I noticed that there's a feature on it where it goes, you can gift. So type in a code. So I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just buy the game and send it to myself to redeem it, right? And I go to try to do that. You can't buy anything on the Oculus store without having a number one, a Facebook account, and then registering the Facebook account to Oculus, then registering in Oculus to actually buy anything. And I was just like, this is the whole thing I was trying to avoid. And I just ended up saying to, the father-in-law, hey, I'll send you some money, but I'm just going to buy this game. You can keep it on your account. I don't care about that. But I just don't, there's no other way to add my details. It's so ridiculous. It's such a pain in the ass. But anyway, parking.
I don't know why you even have to add your details. I already know. Meta already knows all your details anyway, so.
That's true. They should just be able to, detect that. I mean, you look more lifelike than the real version, but.
Hello, human.
Man, Zuck's got a nice new neck beard. Let me just.
It's Amish. It's Amish Zach.
Amish. Can we call the? I don't know how you can title the episode Amish.
Amish Zuck. Amish Zuck. All right.
Amish.
So how
Amish
was Resident Evil 4
so
VR?
park
Yeah,
all the
tell-
shit about the Oculus. Man, this game is so freaking cool. I know that, I've never played Resident Evil 4, but in the VR, it's so awesome. It is such a cool experience. Very much like Half-Life Alyx, but the freedom that you have because you're not connected to anything. It just runs on the actual headset is really unreal. So that was awesome. I played it over the course of a few days, and then I got brave, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna turn on full-on VR mode. I can move, I can turn with the sticks, which
Yeah,
they
that's how I
say
played Alex. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, don't do that, right? Because it can make people
Makes
feel
you
sick.
sick.
But I'm like, I'll do it. So I do it. I felt nauseous all day from that point on. I only played it for 20 minutes.
Wow.
I felt so nauseous. And then by the end of the day, I had the biggest stomach cramp. And I'm not
Sheesh.
100% sure if it's I had a virus and it was just so happens to perfectly match up. I played the VR thing and then immediately after that, I felt sick. But yeah, I felt sick all day. It was really
Now-
crazy.
now you're ready for Boneworks, the ultimate nauseous maker.
Well, I'm announcing today that officially I'm going to include anti-nausea pills in every box of Oculus Quest sold. So all future people playing games, you guys will be set, included for free.
MetaQuest.
Hence why I had to do the markup of an extra $100 per headset to be able to put the pills in.
It was always dangerous showing Mike this Snapchat lens thing. You knew that.
Yeah.
Fucking Integot, what have you done?
It was only meant to be for me as the executive producer. So yeah, like there's other ways to play it. So I'm going to go back to teleportation mode, which I don't have an issue with whenever I play the games through that mode. So it's
Did you play Alex through teleportation?
yeah,
Or did you do...
yeah, and I was fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm okay with the smooth locomotion, but once you start doing the turning on the stick, like the yaw, like oh man, it makes me like nauseous straight away.
But you don't get it's nothing you can get used to because for example, I actually get car sick, but I never noticed that because I pretty much always drive. It's super rare that I don't drive or I'm in a car when I'm not driving unless it's a bus. But once in a blue moon when my girlfriend drives, I actually start feeling really sick.
Maybe that's
especially if I use my phone or something. No, she's a good driver and everything. Okay. And I'm not just saying that because she's gonna beat me up if I don't say that.
Yeah.
But it's some people just get that. But I found with VR I didn't have that, which is really weird. So
I think it's very like
it's hard.
individual, right? With VR, it seems. Yeah, I don't get sick. I didn't think I'd get sick with the smooth locomotion or the teleportation. It's just the turning. But I don't get sick in any other context. Like I don't get sick from boats. I don't get sick from cars or anything like that. So yeah, I saw online people talking about you got to get your VR legs, and I was just at that point like, fuck off. Like it's such like this is what I've always said about VR and why I don't think it's going to catch on, because it's just too much mucking around, man. There's just too much mucking around. But Resident Evil 4 is really cool. I'll try it again now that I feel much better. And I'll try it in teleportation mode and see if I can get through more of it. But very, very cool game, obviously. And the other game that I played this week that I clocked was God of War. So this is 2018's masterpiece. I think Game of the Year that year as well. And
for you mean as well, not just that it was Game of the Year officially?
I don't know. I have to go back and look at 2018. I can't recall. I haven't thought about that. But yeah, I'm kind of mixed on this game. Like I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. Like, as I said last week when I was playing through it, it just oozes AAA. Like, I really struggle to think of many other games that can kind of match the moment to moment, set pieces. I like probably Last of Us, which I haven't played, would probably be similar, I'd imagine. Yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a bit mixed on it. Not in the sense that I think it's bad, but do I think it's so exceptional? Like the game got like a 93, I think, on Metacritic, and I'm like, I don't know if I feel like it's like a very, in the Anthony
92.
Fantano kind of perspective, a very strong 8. Like I'd probably put it as like an 87 or something like that. Which I'd like, for me, like going from 87 to like a 93 is a massive leap. But having said all of that, like such a cool experience, and also I do like the way they've balanced the game. Like this is a game that you can experience it, and then if you want to do more, it's very well structured for that. But if you're sort of satisfied with the golden path, the main story, etc., I think it's very rewarding in that way as well. So it sort of ticks my box and then ticks sort of Swinny's box as well. But yeah, like Swinny, like I know, have you actually played this, or I can't remember. I know you got it multiple times.
No, not yet, because I do want to finish the original trilogy first. Like I'm a huge fan of the first two, and that's why I want to cap off God of War 3, which I did start playing before I jump into essentially the reboot in a way.
Yeah, and I can't believe I have to wait so long for the sequel to come out. It's just bloody shocking. So no, like I'm glad that like I've played this now because of how much story driven it's been. And Swinny, I hate spoilers. But there are like actual twists. I don't know if you've played this game, right?
I have, but not enough. Like it's one of those games that I've always reserved for when I get some proper time to really focus on it, because it seems like such a cool game.
It's like 15 hours if you want to get through the story component.
Yeah, but you know what I'm like? I'll just get sidetracked and I have to do everything.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a funny game in that way. Like it is pretty linear like it's structured to not be linear, but I really think it's a really linear game. But the twist in it, like I didn't see it coming, and I didn't know anything about it. It hasn't been spoiled so far for me.
Okay, good.
But I was like playing through it, I'm like, what the hell? Like,
Can Kratos
okay,
see dead people?
no, but like I was just like, oh, that's like it actually really surprised me. Like it really surprised me the twist, and I was like, wow, okay, and I'm so glad that I know that now before Ragnarok.
Okay.
Because I'm sure it's going to get ruined straight away, like playing Ragnarok. So I'm not spoiling it, but if you guys want to play this game before
100% I wanna
Ragnarok
play
comes
this.
I
out,
already know what it is, so it's fine.
okay, yeah, of course.
I don't wanna know
I
what it
knew
is.
that you knew it.
Yeah,
I
of
knew.
course
I
everything
knew.
about everything before
course I
playing
knew.
it.
I knew that you knew it. So that's a big week for me. I'm getting on top of getting through games and all of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Swinny, what have you been playing?
Well, I just first of all wanted to say that one of the things I should be doing in the coming week is actually True Achievements' alphabet challenge that they're starting. So that's basically where you have to, you enter the challenge and you basically unlock an achievement that starts with every letter of the alphabet in order. So you have to get one that starts with A, B, C, all the way through Z. Now, because some of them can be a bit tough, like X, for instance, you can get they give you 10 skips, but you can only use 2 skips if you want to earn like the badge for completing the challenge. So my aim is obviously to not use any skips, but if I need to use X, then I'll need to use X. But yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to doing this week. In terms of what I've been playing this week, so I finished up Gala Windoria, so that's the hit point
nice.
Chemco RPG I talked about last week that I wasn't a big fan of. It gets a little bit better, but still very run-of-the-mill. Wouldn't recommend it above most other hit point RPGs. So we'll see. I'll talk a bit more about that when I add it to the Chemco tier list. I also went back to a game that I hadn't played in ages, Kataria Fables, and finished that up. So that was the game that was basically like a mix of Harvest Moon with more of like a Zelda action adventure, and whereas you played as a cat. So I did talk about it in the show, and you accused the game of being a furry game because one of the characters definitely looked on the furry scale.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
On the furry spectrum. But no, that game's actually pretty fun. Although it's a bit weird in the way it designs its quests. It's like, for instance, I'll go to complete a quest, start a quest, but it's not there because in the chain of that quest, one of the NPCs is tied to another quest that's currently ongoing, so you can't start that quest, but you don't know that. So it's just weird in the way they designed it, but it's a small team, it's a fun game, and Kataria Fables, if it's cheap and you like Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, I recommend it.
Do indeed love those games.
I also have been playing quite a bit of Steven Universe Unleash the Light, which I'll talk about later because I'm very excited that game finally got updated, so I'll be mentioning that later
I
on.
hope you tell us the background
Update,
about how that
update.
came to be.
I
I'm sure
will.
he
I will.
Yeah,
He's
awesome,
planned
awesome,
it out.
There's a whole
write
reason
a
why it's a
recap.
segment. There's a reason why it's a segment. And I also have played a bunch of Game Pass games. So the first one is Ghost Recon Wildlands. I tried that out for a bit. That game I know is obviously not, it's been out for ages. Yes.
Can I ask you a question? So how are you handling all the new id games and that have been dumped in there?
I'm gonna have to try.
Oh, really?
Well-
You're gonna have to go play them all.
Well, some of them I've already played. Like I've
Okay.
already played Quake 4. So
Yeah.
there's
Wolf
a bunch
3D.
I've never played Wolf 3D before. I need to go try
no
play
way.
that game.
Too youngin.
I'm the kind of person that used to play Wolf 3D with a mouse, even though you can only look side to side with the mouse.
I know. When you go back, even Doom, man, you play the control scheme. It's like, what the hell? This is
Yeah.
horrible.
But there's some weird kind of Elder Scrolls ones, or Elder Scrolls Adventures and stuff. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try that stuff. But Ghost Recon Wildlands, so I'd never actually given this game a shot, and it's a game a lot of people actually really like, a lot more than the consensus on the Breakpoint, the follow-up. It's fun. I liked it. It's, again, like a lot of the Ubisoft games have had in the Game Pass this year. It's a game I'm not going to be playing a lot of. I'm just trying it out if I hadn't played it before. And I can see how that game's really fun in co-op, Wildlands. So it's one of those games where it's like, it just feels really, really solid in its gameplay mechanics and everything. 2 other games. So the first is Coffee Talk. So Coffee Talk is a game that I'd heard about for a while, never had a chance to give it a shot. I will say, unfortunately, the developer of this game did pass away early this year. So,
Whoa, that's
my
crazy.
my thoughts go out to his loved ones. But
Terrible news.
Coffee Talk is basically just a. It's just basically just an interactive story game where you're a barista in kind of like this weird. It's like near. Well, it's not near future. It says 2020, but it feels like it's basically like a mix of like humans and then like elves and orcs and stuff. So it's got this kind of weird vibe to it, but it's cool. But basically, you're a barista who's at a late night coffee shop, and you're just talking to customers and serving them coffee, and you actually make the coffees based on the orders and stuff. And yeah, that's basically the game. Like, it's just a cool game to chill out and play. And if the dialogue doesn't hook you right away, then it's probably best to just go, okay, I'm not going to play any more of this. If you're just trying it out on Game Pass. But I think it's cool. I might go back to it. I only played it for about an hour, but I liked what it was putting down. So, yeah, Muhammad Fahmy that was shown on the screen there was unfortunately passed away early this year.
But they're making a sequel. It's kind of crazy, eh?
Well, I mean, he wasn't the only person involved in the development, but he was like a key developer. So,
Wow, that's crazy, dude.
So Coffee Talk, it's on Game Pass. It's worth a shot if you like, story-driven kind of. It's almost like a visual novel in a way. So, and the last
really
game I'll talk about is very relevant to Mike's current Snapchat filter that he's got on the if you're watching a video.
May I have
Please
preempted
don't.
this?
Is 2 Point Campus. So I was actually really excited when they announced this was coming to Game Pass. I'd never got a chance to try out 2 Point Hospital, but I'd always wanted to because it kind of had that. It gave me the impression that it was almost like a pseudo, like spiritual successor to something like Theme Hospital, which I absolutely loved when I was younger. So I went into 2 Point Campus, which is obviously about building like a university or a college, thinking it would almost be like Theme Hospital in a way in my head. It's very different. It's almost like it's definitely obviously like a sim, right? But it's kind of just got it's just got much more of there's like more of a Sims vibe to it than I was expecting. But it was fun. Like I played it for a couple of hours, went through like the tutorial and then played on for a bit longer. I think it's pretty neat if you're into these games. I think its interface is not great for console though. I think that they probably should have done a bit more work there to make it work a bit better. Because I have played these kind of games on console before, and I think this one is probably not as optimized as it could have been. So
Because you played the Jurassic Park game, and that was pretty good on console.
That was
wasn't
really
it?
good. And I like even the Sims 3. I played a lot of that on Xbox 360. And that actually worked really well. So it's kind of like, but I think a lot of it's just familiarity. Like after a while, you'll get used to it. But it just felt like there was just a lot on the interface that I just didn't know how to actually get down my cursor down there.
Oh, wow.
If that makes sense. So, but
Yeah, I can't believe you play these games on console. Like, to me, I know it's very personal, obviously, but it would drive me nuts playing these type of games on console when I know PC is like, 100 times better of an interface because it's designed for it, really.
Yeah, but I've played games like this that I've liked on console before. So I know 100% it would be better on PC. Like any game like this would be in terms of interface. But I'm a console gamer, so I'm always going to try stuff out there if that's the option given to me, unless it like something like I think it's Her Story, like those kind of games, those interactive games. I'm like, okay, that felt better on PC to me than something like console. But anyway, 2 Point Campus.
And with your comment just around the Theme Hospital part of it, do you mean because like Theme Hospital, it's just mostly focused in on the hospital, you know what I mean, and you're building within the hospital? Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah, there's a lot more. Like it is a similar game. Don't get me wrong, but it just didn't give me the same feel. And I think part of that is there's a lot more about furniture and stuff in this. Whereas Theme Hospital, you definitely put furniture, but it was like it didn't. I guess it's just also the fact that games have advanced. Like Theme Hospital came out 20-something years ago.
5 years ago, maybe.
Still a good game.
Oh, it's still great. But I'm actually looking forward to actually trying out 2 Point Hospital now, just to see if, because of just the style of game is different. This is about a university. Maybe that's just the reason why. So, but I think it's worth a shot. It's on Game Pass. So if you like these games,
I do find it funny how old we are. It's like we can literally go. Remember when Theme Hospital came out, and it was literally 25 years ago.
The funny thing is, I played way more of the Theme Hospital demo than I ever played in the main game.
Yeah,
as well,
dude,
so.
Same, man. I played that demo to death. I love Theme Hospital. It was freaking cool.
Yeah, cool. So that's me for the week.
Nice.
That game looked really good. It really showcased the fact that universities are basically money making machines designed to turn people through the capitalistic system that we've created.
You just reminded me. The game has a damn good sense of humor about that stuff. So.
Oh, so it actually does cover that stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like it's all about making profit off your students. So.
Perfect.
Oh, I like how
That's what
he's
we wanna
got a
see.
very topical Snapchat
Extremely
filter on.
topical because even though you guys haven't asked me to, I'll just butt in now. This week I've been playing WarioWare Get It Together. No B-roll for that. I'll very briefly touch on it. I've
You
been
are the
playing it
B-roll.
co-op with my girlfriend. She's probably better at the game than I am actually, and it's not too bad. I've had the copy of it for I don't know, a good 6 months maybe.
What system is it on?
Switch. It's on
Okay, I
Switch.
just wanted.
Yeah.
You didn't
And
say that.
I only ever play my Switch
Because there's
handheld.
so many WarioWare games and so many different systems. So I
It's
just
the
wanted-
one on Switch, yeah. It's the one the Get It Together one on Switch. So finally, after all this time, I actually plugged my Switch into the TV. I never did that because I'm like, where the hell's my dock thing? And I ended up having to go find the box to fish it out of the box because I never used it. So, by the way, I don't know if you have the OLED as well, since we're on
I
the
do.
topic.
Yeah.
The black, it's got that piano black finish part around it. It's got the white and then it's got the piano black. It's starting to sort of like peel and it
Really?
bubbled and started to peel in a couple of places. It's really definitely don't think I
Unplayable.
spilt anything on it. It's really weird. No, I'm just like surprised. I wonder if it's just a defect with the type of finishing they used. Anyway, no matter, a really cool game. Looking forward to playing a bit more of it. But the other two games that I played, first of all, was Myst 2021. So I say Myst 2021 because there was the original Myst, which I think came out in like 1995 or something. It was an amazing game. I think we spoke about it briefly in terms of the impact it had in the industry, in terms of the advancement, the fact that it wasn't, I think, the first game that used CD-ROM or CD media for this kind of stuff, but it was amongst the first, if not sort of like second or third or something like that.
It was
Or I think
also-
it might have been.
Also at the time, it was one of the biggest selling games of all time. At that time. So.
And it
was-
was mind blowing at the time when you think about
It
what
was 93. And
in 93. There you
and
go.
to your
Holy
point-
moly!
and also saying how old we are. I remember when Myst came out, and it actually made people go and get CD-ROMs because they were like, "Why am I going to get a CD-ROM? It's fine with floppy disks." Like, it's amazing that we remember CD-ROMs coming in, and yet my kids and other younger people don't even remember like almost physical media.
Yeah,
at
I
all.
remember them coming in, and CD-ROMs are a bit of a weird era because I remember them clearly coming in, and I remember when I switched from using floppy disks to using CD-ROMs, and the difference was massive. Like 1.44 megabytes or something for a floppy disk versus 650. Oh my god, 650 megabytes on a CD-ROM.
not
It was
the-
mind blowing at the time.
This is becoming big week in CD-ROMs.
Old
but
people.
The
CD-ROM
original ones
talking.
weren't that big. The original ones were like 200 meg or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
anyway.
do not remember that at all. I just remember the
Look, Huda Duda
full-sized
said
ones.
this show has jumped the shark. I agree.
Yeah. See, some people bought a CD-ROM for Myst, and other people bought it for Encarta Online or whatever the hell that. Isn't that the name of the Microsoft?
Encarta
Yeah,
95?
Microsoft Encarta 95,
Yeah,
man.
Encarta,
That was
yeah.
the best. I remember
Encarta was
what
awesome.
What was the name of that Maze game that it came with?
I used to
Maze
watch like
Run?
Hitler
Maze-
speeches in Encarta 95. I was like, wow.
Wow, did that
Is that not a flagged word on
influence you for the
YouTube?
rest of your life?
Probably.
I do remember that, how incredible it was to actually see those videos in Encarta for the first time. Jesus, I remember that. Wow.
Some deep reflection by Wario.
Very
right?
deep reflections. Anyway, so back to Myst. So I played Myst way back when, somewhere between whenever the hell it came out in 93 and 95, 96-ish. And as a kid at that age, I never finished it because honestly, I can see why playing the game now. Although surprisingly, now that I played it, so I played the 2021 version of it that's in Game Pass. I actually felt I'll say this to boast a little bit. I felt extremely proud of myself that I looked nothing up. I didn't have to look up a single puzzle. It didn't take particularly long to finish the game. It only took about 6.5 hours. There's no way in hell I would have done that as a kid. Like, no way in hell I would have been able to kind of figure that stuff out. The coolest thing about it is I actually had to get a notebook and I had to jot a bunch of things down to try to remember things. There's this particular parts where it just helps. In fact, there's a certain part where I reckon unless you have a really good mental map, you're not going to be able to really figure stuff out. You need to get a pen and a paper, and you need to actually go scribble down the things that you do to be able to figure out where to go next and what to do. And I love that. That's the first time in a long time that I actually took out a piece of paper and I had to map stuff out in a game in a physical medium like that to be able to figure out what to do. That is freaking sweet. I love that shit. So it was really cool. Really enjoyed the experience. Highly recommend it, especially to people that, you know what, to everyone. If you've played the game ages ago, sure, you'll probably remember the puzzles, but honestly, it's so long ago that you probably would have forgotten most of the stuff.
Everybody should play this game.
Everyone should play it.
We probably should clarify that when you say it's on Game Pass, by the time you're listening to this, it's not on Game Pass.
Correctamundo. So I should probably clarify that too. So the reason why I actually did start playing this is because I read that, oh no, it's going away from Game Pass at the end of the month. And I had this game, I installed this game ages ago. I just never got around. I played the very beginning of it. It was completely lost. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do in this place? And I put it down thinking I'll come back to it later. So when I found out it's about to get off Game Pass, I had to jump straight onto it. And I'm glad I did. Really cool experience. I could only imagine how cool it would have been to actually go through it and finish it back in the day. But yeah, if you got the time, do yourself a favor and finish it before the end of the month. So the next game that I played, which I actually played before I played Myst, it's probably also what got me into giving Myst a go, was The Forgotten City. So, what? 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 This is the problem. Why you guys are laughing at me?
You're like, we're channeling Wario.
I am not trying to make no funny business here. I'm not trying to explain the games that I played.
I have no association with this man in the middle of the podcast.
Is he a man or is he a man?
Swinny's got the right
with
idea.
a towel on his head and some lipstick.
I want to be off camera when this is happening.
All right, so the next game that I played was The Forgotten City. Now, we have spoken about this before because I briefly covered it previously. So The Forgotten City is made by, well, it's sort of made by a main guy who did the original, who did it as a Skyrim mod, Australian dude. Then he got together with a developer, and I really should remember the dude's names because it's an amazing game, and I will look them up after this. And I believe there was also a separate sound artist that worked on it in terms of the main credits, because I have finished it, so I have seen the main credits. And it's a freaking amazing game. I really love it. I love the history behind it. I love the way it incorporates multiple parts of mythology, multiple parts of Greek, Roman, Egyptian history, etc. There's a few things I don't want to talk about that because it might spoil some stuff that are critical to the story. And it's fantastic. I've gotten, I think, 3 of the endings. There's multiple endings as well, depending on what you do in the game. So to those that haven't played it, again, without spoiling anything, because it happens at the very start of the game, it basically loops. So it's like Groundhog Day, set in Rome, let's say. And the game loops every time you commit a sin or every time someone in the game commits a sin. And it's really because there's a god or some sort of omnipotent presence thing that basically says if someone commits a sin, then everyone is going to get punished for committing that sin and you get turned into gold. But you can loop again and again and again, and you keep the conversations. You obviously remember the conversations you had with people, and you keep the items you've collected, etc. Again, a game that I highly recommend. It is really fantastic. Doesn't take very long to really finish. Your mileage may vary as well because you can finish it relatively quickly. I think there's actually an achievement for I don't know if it was time based, but there's an achievement for finishing it relatively quickly as well. But of course, you can take your time, sort of figure out all the little bits and pieces for every single character, what's going on, who's doing what. And it's been a fantastic game. So again, highly recommend it. So that was my week in gaming. Other than there was one other game that I played, and I should probably take this silly thing off just for a sec. I'll put on my wizard hat back on.
One.
I'll put on my Roman wizard hat. Gosh, you guys remember that?
Now that makes us sound even
that is
older.
old. Holy shit, it's funny because I mean I don't know if I would still laugh at it today. I know back then it was hilarious, Now, I don't know if I'd still laugh at something like that, but I probably would. Anyway, so in this week's Gamespresso, I take a look at another game that I picked up for the price of a coffee in Melbourne. And I'm going to see if it was worth the price of admission. Was it worth the trade-off playing this game versus having a coffee? And this week's game is Elden, Path of the Forgotten. So it's available on Nintendo Switch, where I picked it, PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, developed by One Red Games. Now, One Red Games is an Australian developer based here in Melbourne. And truth be told, I actually wouldn't mind reaching out to this person and seeing if maybe one day we can have him on the show.
Well, you better give this a glowing review then.
Yeah, I know.
No,
You better be
I'm
across the
objective.
detail.
I'm objective. I am objective.
Mike.
If a game is no bueno, it's no bueno.
Okay, Mike. So this is your third Gamespresso segment.
Yeah.
And third in a row that has
Basically,
is
that's Australian. I know.
Yeah.
Australian.
What's going on?
Was each game
Had no idea.
you had no idea it was Australian? made?
Absolutely.
How is that possible?
Zero
No, no,
freaking
how
idea.
is that
How
possible?
is that
I
possible?
swear to God, I had absolutely zero freaking idea. Zero idea. The only way I found out that this was actually an Australian game is because of it was either in the intro or the credits where it comes up with that Victorian fund, whatever that thing is, that games fund.
Actually,
that we have.
shit, are they all Victorian? Because last week's one was Victorian.
Was it last week's one Victorian too?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe they just get funding.
Are they all
from-
Victorian as well? Shit.
Maybe. Damn. Wow.
Next week
Okay,
you'll
well,
be
there
like,
you go.
oh, this game I hadn't heard of called Crossy Road. Oh, this game I hadn't heard of called Untitled Goose
Hey,
Game.
no, it's
Hollow Knight.
Jetpack
coincidence.
Joyride.
It's an absolute coincidence. Anyway, let me go back to the game. So again, the game is Elden, Path of the Forgotten. Now, this is the updated edition that I played, which included a few more weapons and a few more things. Published by another indie and Neo Doctrine, and it was released way back in 2019, although I don't actually remember if the Switch version came out back then. So the gameplay is, as you can see in the B-roll footage, it's kind of Souls-like, but without the souls, if that makes sense. So it's got
it's
that
like.
sort of it's Souls-like without the souls. I don't know.
This new innovative new genre called
Very innovative.
like,
Hey, no.
Can
The
we
game is
hyphenate
actually
that?
really cool.
Souls
The game-
like Sans Souls.
Non-soulsy souls-like. It's souls-like sans souls because you don't have to collect souls. There's enemies and stuff, and it's got that sort of punishing, difficult combat. Very esoteric in its nature. Well, I don't know how to compare it because it gave me that feel. It gave me that Souls type of feel to it. But at the same time, I realized after playing it for a while, there's no souls. What am I doing?
Swinny, what was the other one? Souls inspired, Souls like, or something?
yeah. So
This is even better. Souls like without the souls.
no, it's Souls like Sans Souls inspired Souls like.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's Souls-like sense the souls. So
It's like a roguelite without the rogue bit.
what?
What?
I guess it's not really a roguelike because it's got fixed enemy
So
positions. and
explain what you're
everything.
saying.
So-
I'm so confused.
Well, I don't know what I'm saying. So it's an adventure game that it's very esoteric in its nature, which is why I think the whole Souls-like thing came to mind. The fact that nothing is explained explicitly through what you read, it's shown through what's happening in the story, and the characters you kind of come across. I don't think I recall any dialogue throughout the entire thing while adventuring, and it is a very, I would say, a relatively very short adventure all in all. To the extent, and I'll get to that in a minute, that I feel like maybe it wasn't quite completed, or maybe that was the vision, or wasn't quite fully realized. I don't know. I'd actually love to pick. So I believe the guy who made this, his name is Dylan. So I like to pick Dylan's brains to find out exactly what the dealio is with this. Now, graphically, I love these kind of games. I love the look of this sort of art style. It's very reminiscent of if you guys have played Sword and Sorcery. Only it's, I mean, the actual perspective is a bit different, obviously, but it's sort of reminiscent of that kind of art style, and it reminded me a lot of Hyper Light Drifter as well.
It also,
in some ways,
like visually, we had Loot River the other month that came out. But the good thing
Yes,
about this
yeah.
is the enemy sprites and the player sprites are a lot bigger and a lot more
it was
you can tell what's going on.
way
a lot
easy to
more.
distinguish stuff. Way easy. It was quite easy to do. I mean, there were some elements where I'm like, can I pick this item up or not? And it's not. Also because unfortunately I experienced quite a few bugs. There were certain parts where there might have been like a note on the ground and I couldn't interact with it or anything. So I wasn't sure, was this just a random object or did it bug out because I was supposed to interact with it, but I can't interact with it. I wasn't quite sure. And there's a few times where I kind of went through the scenery where clearly I don't think I was supposed to go through because it's sort of multi-leveled. And there's a few times where I just kind of went straight through an object that I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to go through. But nevertheless, it played and looked really well. Sound was really cool. I really enjoyed the music in it. Again, it kind of was a bit reminiscent of Hyper Light Drifter, a little darker in its mood. But I love that kind of music. That I would call it, I guess, lo-fi. I don't even know exactly the type of music that it is, but I love that sort of genre. And in terms of the gameplay, it was done by mostly, I think, one developer, but in the credits it does have a number of people. It's just, again, I don't know exactly who worked on it, but as far as I'm aware, it was mostly one person. So, huge credit to be able to get something like this done. It definitely felt to me like it wasn't completely finished, but at the same time was a really enjoyable experience while I had it. And it is one of those games that genuinely left me craving for more. Like I would have loved to see this kind of world being developed further, just to have more content. I know it obviously wasn't the vision of the game, but I would have loved to actually have more of a mix of dialogue. So more actually towards kind of a Dark Souls-y, don't tell me everything that's happening. I absolutely don't want that. And I get that it's really difficult for one or two people to be able to do that. But if you can at least have some textual dialogue from characters to be able to drive the narrative, I would have loved that. And
Mike,
more locations and stuff like that.
So,
What?
Mike, all right, one hand, coffee. The other hand, Elden Path of the Forgotten.
Which one are you drinking?
Which one are you drinking?
Absolutely, I will drink Elden Path. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Elden Path.
Even though Elden Path of the Forgotten, even though it was flawed, I absolutely think that it's an awesome game, really cool potential. I wish there was more to it. I really wish there was more to it. It was buggy at times and buggy to the extent that you get at the start the game was really hard until I figure out the spells that you can use. And I did finish the game, by the way, and it was quite short.
I'm looking forward to a Gamespresso where you actually choose the coffee.
It will happen eventually. It will happen. But the problem is these games are actually quite good. And honestly, for the price, it'd be insane to say, no, I'd rather have a coffee than something like this because I really like this.
So it's always going to be the game.
It's not always going to be the game, no, because I might end up getting something that I think is really trashy and I will absolutely hate. But this game was not it. I really enjoyed this game.
I think you have to probably go out of your
there will be
way
a sequel for something
and
like
buy
this.
something you think is going to be trash to make that happen.
Maybe,
because
but I try
you're too
not
good
to.
you're too good at choosing games you know you'll probably like.
that's
Although
because
I will
look at-
say,
Yeah,
Death Trap,
what else?
not Death Trap, sorry, the Warlock of Flytop Mountain or whatever. I think that was a bit more out there. Like there's a good chance you couldn't have liked that game.
That
you know
is
what I mean?
true. But that was also Australian, so maybe that biased me as well.
You almost need to switch the format up or something. Like, how many coffees would you trade? You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah, that's
to
a
your
fair point as
point,
well.
you're too value based. So I feel like any game you're gonna say it's better than getting a coffee. Because you just drink the
Maybe.
coffee once or something. I know your
Maybe.
brain.
Hey, but the whole point of this was I wasn't going to do a full. It was just supposed to be a really quick way to go. I bought a cheap game. Let me tell you about it. Should you go and buy it as well?
I like throughout these three segments, we're seeing like the life, death, and concept of this whole segment on air come to
And
life.
this is the last Gamespresso that I will do. Anyway, I would actually love to reach out to Dylan.
Join his
to-
Discord and ask him.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask him. Yeah, to find out more info about the game and find out if there's going to be a sequel or something. Because I would actually love. I just love something about that isometric style and something about that pixelated. I just love the way that feels graphically, and I love the kind of worlds you can create with,
Yeah. Hey,
with
Mike,
that look.
You know what else you love?
Wait. I just
What?
want to say before we move on. But like I just had this image in my head of
What else I love?
Dylan quoting Mike's review and writing quote, "Souls like without the soul."
You can
Sorry.
take that.
But yeah, like you should reach out to him, join his Discord.
Yeah,
we'll
I
have him
will,
on the
I
show.
will.
Cool. Back to you. Mike.
Awesome. Yeah, so there is, you're right, there is something else that I love, and I feel like you're trying to get me onto the next segment, Swinny.
Dead Island. You love Dead Island.
Yeah, woo! So after we all kind of thought that Dead Island 2 wasn't ever going to come out, and look, love-hate relationship with some of us. I absolutely adored the game, loved it. Swinny, how you feeling about it? Bit on the fence.
I don't
remember we
know. I
played
want to
it.
know the details before we.
Anyway, so
Yeah, I know.
this. Well, the original one, the original. We played the original Dead Island. We played Riptide.
Mike.
I did. I loved it to bits. Anyway, this week saw a bunch of really juicy info come out about the troubled Dead Island 2, including a possible release date. Finally. So if we look back at the game's troubled development history, it was originally announced at PlayStation's E3 conference all the way back in 2014 with an intended 2015 release date. Holy moly, that's 7 years ago, and we still haven't seen the light of day for Deadlight. It's published by Deep Silver, which is
That's a different game. That's a different game.
Dead Island, sorry.
Just at any point, just you can tag me in, Mike.
Dizzy.
Tag
No,
me.
that's cool. That's cool. I'll tag you in a sec.
I'm
So it was
saying if you're
published-
gonna cough.
Oh, sorry. So it was published by Deep Silver, which is a subsidiary of PlayOn. PlayOn being the recently changed name, if I'm not mistaken, as part of Embracer Group. And it was first being handled by the original game developers Techland, before being handed over to Jaeger. They did Spec Ops: The Line, which, by the way, was a brilliant game as well. So I know that they will hopefully, or have done. We'll see what the heck's happening. But anyway, Techland then went on to create the popular Dying Light series. We're now up to part 2, which, by the way, you can get for $29 if you've got a PS5 at the moment. Pretty good. Jaeger then also left the project in July 2015 and filed for insolvency. And then fast forward to March 2016, where Sumo Digital, they were involved with Little Big Planet 3 and Crackdown 3, was handed the project. Holy moly, this thing is just being thrown around. There was near radio silence, but Deep Silver kept reiterating the game was still in development. And then in August 2019, Deep Silver then announced that Nottingham-based Dumbbuster Studios. Dambuster Studios, sorry. I should have just let you do the segment, but I am very passionate about Dead Island 2. Clearly not passionate enough to know the full history, so thank you for putting it down. So they were involved with Free Radical and Crytek alumni, and they had taken over as the game's 4th and final developer. Or did they? I guess maybe they did. Do you want to tell us the new details, Swinny?
Yeah, so the whole reason why this is a story this week was the fact that thanks to a bunch of people, including Wario64 on Twitter, who's obviously well known for sharing video game deals and scouring Amazon all the time, noticed that there was actually a retail listing that's since been removed on Amazon for Dead Island 2. So, and it included a lot of big details, such as the fact that now, again, this is a listing stating on it, could be placeholder and whatnot, but it had a release date of February 23rd next year. Now, that actually falls in line with the fact that Deep Silver had actually stated not too long ago that Dead Island 2 was still happening. It kept saying that. Everyone's like, well, where is it? And what, you haven't shown anything. But they actually said it would actually hit in this fiscal year 2023. So that lines up there. But it actually had the actual box art, including like a day one edition and things like that. Had new screenshots on there. And also had like a descriptor about the game, such as the fact that the game takes place across a bunch of different locations in LA, including Venice Beach and Beverly Hills. And it's quite funny. The game's called Dead Island, and it's set in some locations that aren't islands, but whatever. People don't care about that.
I'll forgive him.
And it had a bunch of more details such as the fact that, there's 6 characters that are customizable and you can respec instantly at any time, which I know Mike you'd be a big fan of there. So so Dead Island 2, what a journey this game has been on. And Mike, you alluded to it earlier that I'm not a big fan of the original, but it's also because I think I had a bit of just a bad introduction to that game. It's also
You picked
not
the wrong
really
character, man.
Yeah, and also I really did enjoy playing that game co-op, and I know that game is, for a lot of people, that's the way to play it. But it's just something about it. I just didn't enjoy that flow of the game. Might be the fact that I was playing with Mike, maybe. But
Hey,
Mike
hey!
is. We don't do
What
let's
did
plays
I
and stuff,
do?
but Mike is like a true single child. The
Shut
way he
up.
plays games, it's like he always takes all the ammo, all the health. Like he steals things from you. He runs
That
ahead.
is absolutely no
He
truth.
doesn't
The
back
only
you
thing I
up.
do is I shoot the witches.
Am
the
I
screaming
wrong,
witches,
Swinny?
to attract them.
look, Left 4 Dead is the worst example. That is really the
That
worst
is
example
the
of that.
only example. I was pretty good after that.
But Mike, I know you did love the Dead Island.
I love
and,
them, yeah.
and so much so that you bought that
Hey,
was it Riptide?
I am not proud of that, but I did. I do have a
Torso
copy of it.
pre-order,
That was shocking.
Yeah,
Yes,
don't show it on
Shocking.
stream.
I'm definitely not showing. Not that I have it on. I have it locked away somewhere to be forgotten for eternity. But yeah, I love these games.
The other thing that's pointing to it being legit is you've also got Gamescom like tomorrow or whatever it is, or the next day. So it's like in the next couple of days. So there's probably going to be a lot of announcements there as well. I know Jeff Keighley's got another show. We're not reacting to that, but we're starting to get a bit Jeff Keighley burnt out, aren't we, Swinny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough of sucking
And-
his.
It's crazy. All 4 studios that have been involved with this game are actually all decent studios. I actually quite like Techland. Sumo Digital's done a lot of good work. And Dambuster, while they haven't put out a lot of good work as Dambuster, the fact that, that's Free Radical, that's dating back some of those people. I don't know the full, staff or whatever, but they've got that lineage back to Rare and Goldeneye and all that. But look, I'm hopeful. Obviously, I want this game to be a good game, but I still need to get back to the 6 other versions of Dead Island that are on my achievement pile of shame.
Are they technically RPGs that you have to play?
Yeah, according to the actual achievements they are. So, and I
Sucker.
put them off 6 of them. So, yeah. Anyway,
Fair enough.
Man, yeah, like I said, I absolutely love those games. Love the original. Love Riptide. I probably preferred the original in some ways over Riptide. I just love. I love zombie stuff in general. Look at me. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm so glad it's come back. I haven't yet picked up. I haven't picked up Dying Light 2, even though I was a huge fan of number 1. Mostly because I was waiting for them to patch up a few things. Because I heard, like for example, on PS5, the performance it doesn't run at 4K 60. And a kind of a game like that, I'm like, I don't want those kind of compromises. It runs at I think 1440p maybe, which is still perfectly fine, and I think it'd still be okay. But apparently they're working on a patch or something, according to what I read on Twitter. So when that comes, I might pick up a copy of it because I'm just a huge fan of this kind of games. So yeah, good update. Thanks, Swinny. All right. So speaking of the Embracer Group, Embracer Group has gone on another big shopping spree. Tell us about it, Swinny.
all right. So I'll pick up on this one. So, not content with snapping up Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and more earlier this year, Swedish conglomerate Embracer Group, as you said, have gone shopping again. And there's some pretty big things in here. So, now the total amount of these new acquisitions are reportedly, I don't think this is an official statement from them, but reportedly in the realm of about 577 million, which when you look at one particular thing in this is kind of wild that it's actually that low. And they've created a new operations group called Embracer Free Mode to help handle some of these acquisitions as kind of like an operating group within. So, like, you just look up Embracer Group on Wikipedia. There's just levels and levels and levels of subdivisions and published labels and everything. But the big one, and while it's not directly game related, I think like in the realm of the fact that there's other acquisitions here that are. This is kind of the big one. They've acquired Middle Earth Enterprises, which actually means they now control the Tolkien IP and worldwide rights to, the motion pictures, like basically like they own the literary rights to Lord of the Rings, which is
literary
insane.
or the
No, the literary, but also a lot of the rights relating to other media as well. Now, I'm not going to get into everything to do with, I know New Line Cinema used to own the rights to Lord of the Rings movies and all the stuff like that. I'm just focusing on the fact that their statement is saying that they own the IP now, basically. Middle-earth Enterprises is the company that basically other companies would work with to license that IP. It is absolutely insane. Now, this is... Embracer Group have... A lot of the acquisitions they've been making have kind of been going outside of the gaming sphere, like whether or not it's actual physical board games and stuff. And some of the acquisitions we'll talk about later on are more so in other areas of entertainment. But the fact that, even in as recently as May, EA announced that they're working with Middle-earth Enterprises on a new Lord of the Rings mobile game. So this is just a crazy thing. And it just seems a very low, like when you factor in there's more here in this bunch, like a very low amount for an IP that you would consider would be absolutely, I know not everything Lord of the Rings touches turns to gold, but it's still pretty wild stuff. So
Yeah, no, it is kind of crazy actually. Like I'm just reading about it now. It's a bit complex though. It's not like they own Lord of the Rings itself. It's like they own the rights to the names of the characters and the places and the ability to make certain like media out of it. It's really weird and complex.
And because there's like the new, Rings of Power, Amazon show, like they mention all this stuff, and there's so much going on in this, like a cross media kind of, IP like the Lord of the Rings and that. But look, that's obviously big news. But in the gaming sphere, they also picked up Limited Run Games, which, while not the biggest company out there, is definitely the biggest in the collectible kind of, like printing like limited physical games for, the fact that even the Chemcoach games I talk about, that I joke about, they do a lot of them in physical release for Switch and PlayStation, and now they're starting to do some Xbox stuff as well. But this does line up a lot with, they're trying to just really have a foot in every corner of the market. And the fact that they also a few months ago started talking about that they're doing like, they've got a game preservation initiative, kind of lines up with that as well. The fact that, there's going to be physical versions of some of these games. But the Limited Run Games will operate as an independent subsidiary under the existing management, or at least, for a time, who knows in the future. But so it seems like they're basically, they'll probably be the same. Limited Runs, it's not like they're going to change their branding or anything like that. But yeah, that's a bit of a wild one out of nowhere, I think.
Yeah, I was kind of a bit honestly disappointed about like Limited Run Games getting bought up by them. I know that they're saying that they're going to run it as it is, but I don't know. It just feels like the energy would be different. Surely it would be different.
Yeah, especially if you've got, if you recall correctly, the Embracer Group saw a $1 billion investment from the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund. So I wonder if that's going to influence a bunch of things. Maybe not.
Who knows? I mean, they've been spending money everywhere. It's going to be interesting to see. Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all those investments kind of impact the industry in, let's say, 5 years' time or something. But
yeah, because isn't SNK owned by that investment fund?
Yeah.
Like pretty much almost 100% these days. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, you know what? I'd love to, as a business person, understand how the hell they structure their business, the Embracer Group, because they have so many studios, IP, games, everything on the go. It's like, how the hell do they manage it? I'd love to understand their structure.
The fact that the company that now owns the makers of Elix and that, like Piranha Bytes, also owns the rights to Lord of the Rings is kind of insane to me.
And Tomb Raider, right? Like, am I
Tomb Raider
mixed up?
Yeah,
Borderlands, Saints Row, and so they also rounding out acquisitions. That's not all. So there were 6 more acquisitions as part of this as well. So one was Tuxedo Labs. So they're a Swedish studio. So they made Teardown, very popular game in the last I guess like 18 months or so. Tripwire Interactive, so they're a US studio, so they made Maneater and the Killing Floor games.
Oh, yep.
And those two will operate under the Saber Interactive kind of part of Embrace Group. Although, what is this company called again?
How many levels have they got?
Yeah, Bitwave Games. So they're a Swedish studio. So they're actually working on the just announced Gimmick Special Edition, which I'll actually bring up in the wrap up later. And three other companies. So Geotech, who they make gaming accessories, they're based in the UK. Singtrix, so they're a karaoke machine maker. And Tatsujin, so they're a Tokyo-based studio, but it gives them access to like a very eclectic Japanese arcade library back from the 80s for, I think it's Toa Plan. So anyone remember Snow Brothers? So it's them and Zero Wing. Zero Wing's the All Your Base Are Belong to Us game and things like that. So, but yeah, man, I don't think they're done either. Like, it sounds like they're just going to keep buying shit until they're just like, that's ridiculous how much they own.
Yeah, I was looking into the guy who's behind Embracer Group. I was reading about him. It's Lars Wingfors. But he's like actually a really interesting cat. Like, he started his own like business when he was like 13. And then like grew it. Like even when he was 15, he was like literally making proper money. And
Did they start as Nordic games, or am I thinking?
I don't know. Like, well, it's more like him that I'm interested in, like what he's doing and stuff like that, right? Like,
Let's get him on the show.
oh, yeah.
yeah.
He's got
We're big enough now.
he's
I
got his
think,
phone
boys.
number online for some reason.
Give him a call. What's his number? I'll call him right now.
But he's just like a really interesting person. Like he just seems to just know a deal and like maybe a good version of Trump or something, right? But it's amazing. Like everything he buys, he just turns it around, and he's like very into comics and that whole space and just IP in general. So like I agree with you, Swinny. Like like the Tomb Raider acquisition, the fact that it's Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, all of that stuff, it was like what, 300 million? I'm like, that feels like chump change in the scale of like 68 billion for Activision.
What dirt does this guy have on all these companies?
Just seems to make a good deal, man. Like, and I agree. Like, this news blew me away about the Middle Earth stuff, and I'm like, no, that doesn't mean that he can make like, you know, a Lord of the Rings movie. And I'm like reading, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it does, right?
That's so cursed, Mike.
Like, maybe I'm misreading it, Swinny, but like, it seems like they can make a movie if they want from Lord of the Rings.
Well, they actually stated that they have these opportunities now to potentially make movies based on the characters in Lord of the Rings.
But like, am I crazy?
Do a Disney. You know?
But that's what I mean. I mean, like, if like you pay $500 million, don't you feel like even if they made the shittiest effort to make a new Lord of the Rings movie, that would make the money back like straight away? Am I crazy?
Well,
no, they probably would.
577 million is not too far off a lot of movie budgets.
Wow, that's a pretty big movie budget, but unless you're adding in the marketing and stuff like that. But
Well, yeah.
but yeah, man, like it's hectic. Like I don't get it. Like this guy is like a genius the way he does these deals. Like I'd love to read a book. Like I'm actually going to double check if he's written a book because I'm really interested in this guy. He
Ain't
seems
got time
really
to write a
interesting.
book. He's making deals.
He's embracing everything.
Oh, I love it. That's a nice segue.
Into Swinny's wait is finally over. Grumpy Face Studios have finally updated Steven Universe Unleashed Delight for consoles. Swinny, tell us a bit about this.
So, look, I will get into the details about this update, but first I want to talk about the reason why I'm talking about this. Look, I do like this game, and I'm really happy that it's gotten this update for just in general. But going back to April last year, so this is how long I've been waiting for this update. I reviewed this game on the show, and I gave it a lot of praise. There's some things that I don't think it does as well as the previous game in this trilogy that Grumpy Face Studios make, of Steven Universe RPGs. I like to save the light a bit more. It was a bit more like South Park, Stick of Truth in terms of you actually moved around the environment and everything. Anyway, but I got stuck in the sense that this game only had a single save file, And I was worried that they were going to update and potentially add new achievements to this game. But to go back and get my last achievement, I would have had to wipe my save file because there was only one save file to go all the way back to the start. So I asked you two, I said, hey, what should I do? Should I wait if they potentially update this game? Or should I just reset my save file and start from the beginning and risk it? And I think I went back and watched it. And I think, Mike, you said just do it. Say, wipe your save file. And I think Integot's like,
just do it. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, they're going to update this. And they did update the game. It took 16 months, but now I can finally go back and finish this game. But the funny thing is the way they updated it would have actually been fine if I actually wiped my save file anyway, because it's a separate game mode that they've added new achievements with. But anyway, this update, so it's the 4.0 update. So this actually released on PC back in June, and for Steam and Apple Arcade, I should clarify, because this originally launched on Apple Arcade, but now the update's live for Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. So what's in this update? It's actually pretty cool. So it's a free update. They add a brand new Rose's Room mode. So this is kind of like, we're butchering terms again, a light roguelite mode. So basically,
God,
it's
what
like,
are we doing?
it plays like a roguelite, but it's definitely not a roguelite because your characters are leveling up as you complete runs or fail runs and stuff. But
that can be part of roguelite, kind of.
No, but it's very much like you are explicitly leveling your characters up. Not like, oh, I'm getting some passive stuff. You're literally leveling up as you do it. But you go on runs where the abilities they get and the gear they get is reset when you die and stuff. But it's actually really, really cool. But like the main game, you've got to love the combat system in this game, because that's all you're basically doing. It's just room to room combat. And thankfully, I really do like it. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a chore. But it's cool for for a nice new mode, and that's where you actually unlock a bunch of the new stuff. So there's two new characters. One is Greg, who's the dad of Steven Universe, and another is a secret that I won't spoil. But they're both unlocked via that mode, and then you can play them in the main campaign, which is really, really neat. And yeah, as I mentioned, they updated the game to allow you to have different save slots now. So I can now go back and start from the campaign from the beginning and get my achievement I was missing and not have to wipe my progress. So that's really, really awesome. So they've added a bunch of other cool improvements, but I'm just happy that my wait paid off, and thank you, Integot, for like saying no. You know, you should stick to your guns. Just don't play it.
Put it down.
But yeah, I've actually played that new mode a lot. Like, I don't know, about like 8 hours this week already. So it's yeah, really cool update.
I love how it's 52 episodes ago.
It is insane how long that wait has been. It doesn't feel that long, but it has been a while. So
I knew it would happen.
yeah, cool.
Cool. Very good.
That was awesome. All right. Well, thanks for the update. That was really cool. I actually want to play this game. Not because, I am the character right now, but because I think it'd be really fun. It looks really cool.
I'm not sure if Save the Light's on Switch, but Save the Light, if you see that cheap, is really, really cool. Like, I recommend that game more than this one, but this one is also worthwhile.
Okay.
I think we'll have to start implementing a new rule where Mike can only change his Snapchat filter once or twice per episode, or else.
Oh, but come on!
I'll just replace him with the stock image of Dave Grohl.
I gotta say, he's been pretty good at keeping the stuff on topic. I gotta say that.
Don't encourage him.
Awesome. All right. So let's move on to the next bit of news. Another week and another Analogue Pocket Core is released. Holy moly! This time we're dialing in the clock back to 1972. Wow, well before we're even born. What does our Analogue Stan think of this new release?
Thank you, Stephen. So credit goes out to AGG23. So they've released a core this week, and it is the 1972 Atari arcade classic PONG. This is the original arcade version, so it's 2-player mode only. There's no AI, and it's just like it is in the arcade. And what I thought was really interesting about this was, so I tried this out on my Pocket. I spent more time trying to get my dock working again, and it was all screwy. The thing that was interesting to me about this is just how, AGG 23, and it's probably being a bit humble as well, is like relatively new to FPGA development and was actually able to build something like this with this sort of analog framework. And like just in general, like I think it's awesome time to have a Pocket and just to see the sort of development that it's occurring with a Pocket. Like, we're kind of joking at the start that it feels like every week something's happening, but it is like that at the moment. And, it's also for me very inevitable. You will start getting things like the NES and like the SNES and the Genesis and I think it's just going to be super awesome when those things happen. So yeah, it's awesome to have a Pocket. It's, like I said, it went from being like something that I definitely love, but there's sort of some quirks and caveats around it. To me, it's kind of like if you're into retro stuff and you like playing handheld, it feels kind of like a must-buy purchase, personally, for me. Unfortunately, they don't have enough stock to...
Yeah, if you can get your hands on one, that's the problem.
You can still order them at least, so it's just a long wait.
I need to ask you about Pong then.
Yes.
You're saying it's two-player only. Mm-hmm. Now, I can understand when you docked how you could make that work. How do you make that work handheld? Like, what's the deal? Can you just not play it handheld?
No, I played this... I played with myself. So what you do is... I don't have my... Unfortunately, I usually have my Pocket on my desk, but it's like up and down is the left Pong dude. And then kind of like X and B or whatever the equivalent in Xbox world would be. Y and A, I guess. Like the up and down buttons.
So you happen to micro machines it, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Micro machines it. Now, I will say, obviously Pong is best played with a, what is it called? A
paddle.
A paddle, sorry. Yeah, a paddle.
Oh, okay.
So it not having
That's
a paddle is kind of like a bit of a letdown. But it's really cool, and a big shout out to the developer AGG 23. We'll have the links in the description and everything if you want to check out the core. But yeah, it's just really cool stuff, and I love the community that's kind of building around the Pocket.
I'm sure there's probably some USB paddle controller that you can probably make it work with somehow, like when it's plugged into the dock. I'm sure there's a way to make that work.
Yeah, well, like because all the code's open
Atari
source,
ones.
so you can actually configure it a little bit differently if you want. I was actually reading through the code because I have written Verilog and stuff like that in the past, but it's even for me, it's like I look through it and I'm like, oh, this is super intimidating. Like, forget about it.
I also saw in your intro you said you called yourself Analog Stan. See, when I read it in passing, I thought it said Analog San, like Mr. Analog. Analog San.
No, I think people hate on me a little bit for liking Analog too much, so I'm happy to be the heel.
I think it's really cool. I think it's a part of the gaming industry that needs more exposure in that sense.
We need to have a bet on how many potential analog segments can we have before I actually get my analog.
Oh,
will it reach 10 or will it reach 15? I don't know how many there's been so far. I reckon it's probably been at least 6.
I don't want to manipulate it because I would tend to want to manipulate these kind of things if I thought of the number.
You're going to be like, there's a new core every week. Every single week has an analog story.
But if people release a new core, a new thing, I'm gonna make a video about it.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Like I think
gotta get those clicks.
Well, I don't care about that. I just really like it. Look, what it reminds me of is, and we are old. When like stuff like SNES 9X, ZSNES, all of that kind of stuff started coming out.
Nesticle.
We were like around when it was coming out, not like when it was already out for like 15, 20 years.
What was that Game Boy? There was a Game Boy emulator that played a prank on me on when the Millennium turned over and awesome. Got me hardcore. Whereas like I came home after being out in the city and it was like it turned the year 2000 and I went to randomly load up this Game Boy emulator and it basically said this game doesn't work because the date issue or something. And it was just a joke that they put in there.
So cool.
That's all. Yeah, that was a really cool time, like with Nesticle and just all the different shit that they would do as jokes and stuff.
I can't remember the Game Boy emulator name, man. Now it's killing me.
Is it like No Cash Game Boy?
No
or-
cash. It was no
Yeah,
cash.
yeah,
Yeah, it was no cash. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but this is what kind
22
of
years ago. Wow.
this is kind of what it reminds me of. This kind of stuff where it's like that whole scene was really cool. I remember when it was all developing, and yeah, like the pocket scene. And I know it's like the Mister stuff has all gone through that, but like again with Mister, like I will get a Mister, but probably more when I can get an arcade machine. But I do love my handhelds, you know, and the fact that I can just play it on the train, especially now that we're going back, well, some of us are going back to work in the office. It's like, again, like handheld stuff is like really important to me. So yeah, like, yeah, very cool core. And yeah, I'll be doing a segment every week because I'm sure there's going to be an update every week.
I'm actually looking forward to it, to be honest. I'm a little disappointed your amiibo segments aren't here. Not. But I actually do look forward to these ones. I enjoy them.
If it was up to me, every week would have an amiibo, a Chemco, and an Analogue segment.
Welcome to the big weekend Chemco amiibo.
Yeah, you need a
and-
gimmick, Mike. You need a gimmick. You need to have
I need
some-
more gimmicks. Okay.
His
sure.
gimmick is coffee.
Bloody other gimmicks do I need?
Cool.
Awesome. Well, it's that time of the week again where we are wrapping up this week's gaming news. And, well, the first thing that comes to mind is... Turns out that Diablo 4 devs have claimed that players won't be able to spend money to upgrade their characters. Huzzah! As in real money, you know. I don't know if there's going to be in-game money that you'll have to spend. Obviously, you do. Gold coins or whatever the hell you normally spend.
Diablo, what
But
are you talking about?
we will see if they hold on to that, because I mean, obviously,
So-
Diablo Immortal was just full of microtransactions, ridiculously, disgustingly full of them. So
I will say they reiterate it. They've said it in the past, but I just thought it was something that obviously the fact you picked up on it first made it was the right decision to include it. So yeah.
what else you boys want to talk about?
What you've unleashed a beast into got
I
all these
know.
filters.
Like, I do it in a nuanced, funny way, and he just like fucking presses the button on everything.
I don't press the button on everything.
I check everything before I go on the show. You're just
Well, I
like downloading
tried.
things on the fly.
Well, because I didn't realize there was a cool Game Boy one until I actually, we got to the Game Boy segment. I'm like, oh, ding ding ding, light bulb. Wait, can I just search for light bulb above head?
I just love it. It's like one-dimensional thinking. It's the best. So one thing that I wanted to shout out was Astro's Playroom dev. Which, like, what are they called again?
Asobi.
Asobi. Yeah.
Because there's also a Sobo that I always get confused.
Yeah,
between the
Sobi.
two.
That their next game will be, quote, the biggest to date. So I am all for a fully fledged, Mario, maybe not as long as, the full Mario campaigns, but, a 10-hour, 12-hour type of Mario length of Astro, because I love Astro, and I feel like the character in the whole IP could go to another level. So, and I think they make amazing stuff. I love Playroom so much. It was my first platinum, sadly enough. But I just loved it so much, man.
Why, sadly, I think it's really cool. It's an awesome game, and it's a really good homage to PlayStation and the history of PlayStation
amazing.
and stuff.
Yeah, the Sunsoft, the old NES Sunsoft that made lots of classic games, actually had a bit of a mini resurgence this week, saying that they have a bit of a comeback in one of the weirdest little presentations where it was presented by like a VTuber. It was really weird. But anyway, they announced that Gimmick, which was, I believe, a Japan-only NES game that kind of, at the time, was very underappreciated because the game's honestly pretty hard. But years later, when, especially in the speedrun community, Gimmick is really fun to watch. It's basically a little platformer where you're bouncing around off a star, but it's like crazy, like technical and everything. But they're actually making a new version called Gimmick Special Edition. So mentioned earlier in the show, and then Racer Group acquisitions, that one of the studios they picked up is the one actually making that special edition. So that's coming for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So cool little bring an unappreciated game back out of the mothballs years later. So
That's very good.
I don't think we've actually covered it here, but like it was only broke today. But Last of Us, they had a sneak peek trailer, and also have now HBO has confirmed it's coming out in 2023, and they've released more details about the cast and stuff like that. I have to say, this bloody show, I actually really want to watch the show. It looks really well made. So it's like, oh my god, I bloody have to play these games finally because
Oh, dude, yeah,
I
play them.
can't
They're freaking.
watch the
they're
show
awesome.
before playing the
They are
games. Like,
awesome games.
But I wonder what would actually be a better experience for the show.
To
I
watch
think,
and not
but it's all
watch.
been built like for people who have played the games, but then also people that don't, right? I'm sure it's better to play the game and then watch the show.
Oh, it might be, but it's like, how sometimes there's movie adaptations where sometimes people enjoy it more if they haven't read the book because
Potentially,
they
yeah.
don't realize all the stuff that's
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah.
So,
So
Well,
I actually,
it's worth playing them just because they're decent games and you
Of
should
course.
absolutely play them.
yeah, they're some of the most lauded games ever. But
Mm.
I actually installed
first.
The Last of Us on my PS5. I'm super toying with like what I'm gonna do because Last of Us Part 1, quote unquote, the new remaster is
Yeah,
coming
but
out.
are you gonna justify paying full price for that?
That's my
By the time it
birthday
goes-
soon. It's Father's Day
Oh, well,
soon.
I would probably. Yeah, I don't know. You know me, and I always thought that it was unnecessary to make that game, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it is the definitive way that you can play that game. So, if you've never played it before, grab it if you can, and you got the money for it. But speaking of TV shows, I believe there's new set photos for Amazon Prime's upcoming Fallout TV series, which has been leaked online.
that I didn't even realize was happening. I didn't know that was a
Neither did
thing.
I. But
When was
hell,
that
hell to
announced?
the yeah, that's exciting actually. It's I'd love this if it's one series that I think would be really cool. I mean, look, I'd prefer another game, and preferably a game that isn't an MMO. And I would also again would love if they could maybe somehow have released the original Fallouts on platforms like Switch, but I know that's not going to happen. I think we talked about it before. They apparently lost the source code, so that's never going to happen. But a TV series, hell yeah.
The
be
set
cool.
photos actually look really neat. Like it's set photos of the vaults, and
There's Vault,
mean-
Vault Boy and
yeah, it's kind of like, but who knows? Like that stuff is especially. I don't know. Look, not everything Amazon touches turns to gold. That's for sure.
No.
So we'll see. But I'm actually really surprised that we got more details for new Tales of Borderlands, and the fact that it's coming in October. Like that's really quick because that only got announced like a few months ago, and the fact that the game's coming out that quickly, like it's awesome, but unexpected. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's coming out October 21st for everything basically. So.
And just you're talking about the movie stuff and films, I am like blown away by what Sony's doing. So Days Gone, where the creator like had a massive falling out with PlayStation, Jeff Ross, because he wanted to make Days Gone 2, and they were like it didn't sell well enough. Then all the figures started coming out on how many it sold. It sold like something of the order of like 9 million, 10 million copies, which is like up there with. Literally, I think The Last of Us Part 2 sold that many. And, very strange. So, like, we're not going to make Days Gone 2, and they've moved on to another project. And then they get an announcement that they're talking about turning it into a film. I'm like, this is, like, really odd to me, like, the way they're handling this IP.
And talking about movies, what Sega's saying that they're working on Space Channel 5 movie, which look, okay, that series had a few games, right? A Comics Zone movie. Comic Zone, great game,
Yeah, it was a
but
pretty cool game.
great game that was just a one single game that came out for the Genesis Mega Drive.
I know.
Yeah, we need a Pong movie.
Now,
No,
I could
Pong
say
makes more sense. That's a huge
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but what the hell are you gonna make
Pac-Man's
a movie
massive.
out of it?
Yeah, but dude, Comic Zone. Do you know Comic Zone? No one even knows that.
Yeah,
Like,
Mike, do you even know what Comic Zone is?
No.
Exactly.
And
The
you're
name
on a
rings a
gaming
bell,
podcast.
but I don't know exactly what it is. Oh, I'm sorry. The one game I don't remember.
No, but the
what.
point is, it's not a well-known franchise. It's not a franchise. It's a game.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look it up. I'm gonna see if you can. If it's
It's
something
not-
you could turn to a game. Comic.
It's not about
Oh
that.
no,
though.
you could definitely turn Comic Zone
Yeah,
into a
of
movie,
course.
man. Like you could, but it's not a very
Well, why
well-known
should you?
property. It's not can you? It's you. Should
you?
you?
Man, I don't know. It looks kind of cool, actually.
Yeah,
Set
that's
in a
not the point,
dystopian-
though.
That's not what we're talking about. You've got it. to make a movie, you've got to actually get people to go to watch it,
Yeah.
or watch it on a streaming service.
has
And
zero brand awareness.
I know.
I can't. If somebody asked me,
Well, it's on watch a Pong movie.
If somebody asked me 200 games to list 200 games to make a movie from, I don't think Comic
Comic
Zone
Zone.
would have been in that 200.
No, it definitely.
Now
wouldn't
that I
be.
know about it, it looks really cool. I vote Comic Zone.
All right, you better be there on opening day.
I will go and watch it at the cinema. The one and only person in all of Australia to do it.
I'm just forecasting, Swinny, in 5 years' time. Who would have thought Comic Zone beat out Schindler's List as the greatest movie of all time? And then Mike's just there, with his Snapchat
your
filter face.
They're re-releasing in cinemas like 10 years later, like Avatar. You know,
People's
just to
reaction
bring-
of crying, watching the heartbreaking ending to
James
Comic Zone.
Cameron's making Comic Zone 2 and 3 at the same time.
Set in Pandora. Hey, let me ask you this: Is this legit that Nintendo reportedly are planning to boost Nintendo Switch supply by shrinking the size of packaging?
Well, I don't
Well,
think
at least-
supply. I think it's like making it, they can move it around the,
They can
the
ship
world
more, yeah.
faster and easier.
Wow, they're already smallish.
Yeah,
the OLED one that I have is already pretty crampacked.
so
I'd be curious to see how they do that.
Vooks, my favorite Nintendo site, it's an Australian site. They actually said that the original box to the new OLED box was a 13% reduction in size.
Okay.
So then it's another further 20% reduction.
Whoa, okay. Because
Yeah.
it's already crampacked. Like, literally, I opened that box today to look into it, and I'm thinking, how the hell do you...
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how you can make some more. Because I know Intel, it was a joke, but I actually think they are doing this as well, is they were talking about reducing the packaging sizes as well.
At the moment, when the Joy-Cons aren't connected when they ship them, are they?
No.
In the box? Okay.
No, I think they're separate.
Okay.
They're separate, yeah.
Yeah, I could see I can make it smaller, but
me a
I'd have to remind myself. Oh no, he's going.
No,
he's
they're
going to go
definitely
get
separate.
props.
They're definitely
He's-
separate.
He's going to go get props. What's he doing?
No, he's going to get the box. He's going to get the OLED
I
box.
know. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, God. Let's wrap up the show while he's gone.
Also, when Mike went away, like the amount of white noise just died. It's like I'm like, oh my god, as the stream stopped, the noise has changed.
Why is there so much white noise from my end? What do you mean? What's going on?
It's
Hey,
just
man, it's your
man,
end.
like when you
That's
go on
weird.
mute, you just sound so different.
Okay, let me illustrate something that I find quite bizarre. So this is
How
this
bizarre.
is an Intel packaging.
Okay,
Right.
what are we
Big-
doing here? What are we
No,
doing
I'm
here?
just we're talking about packaging sizes, which I found quite bizarre, and I'll show you in a moment why I find this bizarre. So this is what I would say would have been a relatively top of the line Intel at the time. Look at the size of the packaging, right? This is an 11900K, super tiny packaging. Then you have
So when our
AMD.
faces are like impress us, Mike.
Well, no, just I'll show you why I mean in a second, right? Then you have AMD, comparatively speaking, much, a lot of extra wasted space because this does not come with so this is a 5950. It doesn't come with a fan. Obviously, this one doesn't either. Hence, why they can get away with it. Then you have the following, which is a 1600 AF. So 1600 AF is basically a rebadged 2600. So it's not like compared to the other two CPUs, it's shit, let's say. It's not shit.
That's literally
good.
my CPU.
But well, relatively speaking, get
like
what I'm
you guys are
saying. It's a
shit.
relatively it's an average CPU compared to, these two. Look at the bloody difference in boxes when you have a premium CPU. And look at how tiny the bloody box is that they can get away with all of these. And okay, granted, this has a fan in it, so I guess.
All right, Mike,
Look at
what's
the
your
bloody
point?
Size of this box.
What's your point, Mike?
The point is, I feel like AMD could potentially reduce packaging size.
Of course
pretty
they
well
can,
as
but they
well.
want
like
shelf
a
space.
lot.
It's totally different thing that they're trying to do.
No, but
People
I'm saying
wanna
they
buy-
would probably want to save this space as
No,
well.
they
I don't
don't.
get why they have this giant freaking
Because
box
they want
for
a big
a
thing when
mid-range
you're
CPU.
when you're at a computer store.
Yeah, but this is the part I don't get. If I go to the computer store, give me the best product in the biggest box to
But that's not
entice me
marketing.
to
That's
do
not
that. But
marketing.
why would I go for a shit product just because it's a bigger box?
Nintendo want to reduce the box size. People want to buy Nintendos. They can't supply enough Nintendos.
People
by
don't
having
care.
a
All right, I
smaller
guess I get
size-
that. I get that.
They don't care how big or small the
Weird.
box is. They just want to switch.
Exactly. And you're talking about a box that relatively is not that big, but that processor you showed is like 800 Australian dollars. which is like it's like you know a tenth of the size of the OLED box, right? So who cares if it's like a little
Yeah, I
bit
guess.
bigger?
I don't know. I just still find it weird that they have these giant boxes that are totally unnecessary. They still want it. It still costs them money to ship these bloody things, right? They still want smaller boxes.
All right. So what are we talking about next week, Mike?
We're talking
Sorry,
about
I
next
threw,
week.
to, I threw it to you when you were
is Mike-
drinking.
Next
Sorry.
week. Next week.
Is Mike the host next week? We're gonna.
Oh, I got this right. I'm not trying to not be the host. So next week we're talking about Gamescom 2022 announcements coverage. I don't know if we're going to do a live, but we're certainly
No,
No,
covering.
no, I said that.
Unfortunately, they're like 4 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah.
I just also don't think it's super exciting for me personally. What I think is going to come from it. So
Maybe not, but yeah, like I'd still like doing that stuff. It's just you got to weigh up especially like in middle of the week, 4 a.m.
No.
Nah. But
not happening.
but I will say thank you, Mike, for hosting the show in
For
your
your
current
last time.
in your current state. I know that you know like being
Yes.
sick is not fun to be talking for hours. So thank you for
But I am feeling
pushing
better as
through.
well, so.
Thank you.
That's true. The Snapchat filters got him through it.
They're great. I love it. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you next week.
Bye
See you all later.
Bye.